Welcome to Daily Newspaper Analysis presented by Narayana IAS Academy. Dickinsonia. Ediacaran is a period of Proterozoic Iran of Precambrian time and the latest of the three periods of Neo-Proterozoic era, which extends from approximately 635 million to 541 million years ago. Proterozoic aeon is a geological eon spanning the time from appearance of oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere to proliferation of complex multicellular life. It extended from 2500 to 541 million years ago. In this figure, this region extending from 2500 years to 541 million is Proterozoic. Within this last region is Ediacaran. As we can see from this fossil, the Ediacaran biota consisted of this is a tubular, frond-shaped and mostly sessile organisms. These organisms' fossils have been found worldwide and represent the earliest known complex multicellular organisms, also known as metazoans. Previously, the taxonomic affiliation of many of these organisms have been difficult to discern. That is, they could not be definitively put into either fungi or animal criteria. However, the recent analysis using lipid markers obtained from fossils contain almost exclusively cholesteroids, that is fats, and a fat is a marker only found in animals. This supports the idea that Ediacaran biota may have been precursor to the explosion of animal forms later observed in Cambrian period about 500 million years ago. National Rural Drinking Water Program. The National Rural Drinking Water Program is a centrally sponsored scheme of Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation aimed at providing every person in rural India with adequate safe water for drinking, cooling and other domestic basic needs on a sustainable basis. The scheme focuses on creation of infrastructure for providing the water. Concerns. A recent report by Comptroller Auditor General in Odisha has highlighted many lacunae. The report stated that only 3.70% of households against its target of covering 35% of households was achieved by March 2017. Further, the digging of tube wells without conducting scientific survey has led to dry wells which deprived the habitations of drinking water, and the expenditure incurred on constructing these tube wells later became wasteful. Thirdly, the vision of providing safe drinking water to the people living in rural areas at all times could not be achieved in the states. Fourthly, the insufficient fund management, instances of delay in the release of funds by state government, and low utilization due to slow pace of execution of work was also noticed. And lastly, third, the target fixed under strategic plan was largely not achieved, and the water quality monitoring and the surveillance was inadequate. New launch pad for Gaganyaan. The Indian Space Research Organization is setting up a third launch pad at Sriharikota to undertake the Gaganyaan manned space flight program, man's mission to space. In Independence Day speech addressed this year from the Red Fort, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced that an Indian will go to space by 2022. Following this, the ISRO has announced an ambitious roadmap to put a 3 Indian man in low Earth orbit for 5 to 7 days by 75th Independence Day. ISRO has begun work on this manned space mission in 2004, and many of the critical technologies required for human space flight have already been validated through various tests. This is the space capsule recovery experiment. This is the crew or care module which was launched some years back. ISRO will use its GSLV Mark III launch vehicle, which can carry the heavier payload of Gaganyaan, and this will take off from the new third launch pad which is under construction. Small satellite launch. ISRO is also scouting a new location near Gujarat for SSLV, which is Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. ISRO is developing SSLV to offer affordable launch option for smaller satellites through anthrax. ISRO currently carries small satellites on PSLV and GSLV along with the bigger satellites. The SSLV is expected to reduce the launch time as well as cost less to launch small satellites which are much in demand. ISRO is ready to transfer the entire SSLV as a whole to the private industry while the agency would provide initial hand holding. SSLV is expected to be cleared by next year. Agencies to do eco-impact checks. The central government proposes to introduce the concept of randomized third-party compliance monitoring of the environment clearance conditions through national level reputed and competent governmental institutions to be empaneled by the ministry. The Union Environment Ministry will allow research organizations and accredited agencies to monitor whether if companies or industries are complying with the environment conditions that they have specified in environmental impact assessment. Let us briefly look into environmental impact assessment in India. India's environmental laws require project developers to submit themselves to the environment impact assessment, under which an independent agency commissioned by the project developer ascertains the likely environmental impact of a proposed project. The preparation of an environment impact assessment requires an environmental management plan ensures that the adverse environmental impact of the projects and the activities are assessed and studied, and the mitigation measures are taken in the implementation of the project to avoid or to minimize the adverse environmental impact. These are the stages in which environment impact assessment is conducted in India. At each and every level of this stage, there are different stakeholder engagements, which may be local universities, local people, Panchayati Raj, local governments, etc. Fifthly, the Chess Olympiad is set to begin in Batumi, Georgia. With Viswanathan Anand and Konur Humphrey participating, India has a good chance to finish on the podium. India, seeded 5th in the tournament, which will see 186 countries participate, is fielding its strongest ever contingent. The India was placed 3rd and 4th respectively in the men's and women's events in the past. Thank you. See you tomorrow.